Hey guys, it's Anna from Bright Lane Gardens, and today I'm going to try to save this evergreen shrub with you. As you can tell, for years the deer have been munching away at this shrub. The reason I know that is all of the damage that's being done here is at a deer's head height or lower. So that's what we're looking at here. They've just been munching away. This is a really common thing, especially in the winter when all of the other green shrubbery dies off. The evergreens will stay green, and that does draw the deer to them. In past years, we've honestly just let it go. We have a toddler at home. We've had a lot of other things going on with the business, so our focus has been elsewhere. But this year, I'm determined. I really want to save this bush. We actually have several of them. They create a hedge here. This is really, really good privacy. I've got the pool pond to the left of me here, and I just really love this backdrop. So it's going to be a multi-stage process. I don't know if we'll be successful or not, but we're going to try our best. One of our first steps that we're going to take today is to go ahead and prune the shrub back as far as we can without taking off any of the beneficial growth areas. So what we're looking for here is going to be dead branches, twigs, and low producing branches. I'm definitely going to walk through and show you how I select which branches I'm going to take off and what branches I'm going to leave. And the second step is we're going to definitely apply a layer of fertilizer and give this shrub the best shot it has at growing large this spring. For reference, I am in northern Michigan. We're just outside of Traverse City, close to Lake Michigan. We get a lot of that lake effect precipitation, which is wonderful. We're getting a little bit of it right now, actually. It's April currently. It's an unseasonably warm spring. We're supposed to get snow tomorrow, of course, in true Michigan fashion, but I'm gonna do as much as I can today and try to get a head start on this. I do not love to prune in the spring. There's several reasons for this. I don't like to prune off any new growth, but there is a little benefit to pruning in the spring, and that is identifying which branches are going to be producing and which ones should be trimmed back. So we'll walk through that process today. We don't need too much to get started on our process today. All you're going to need is a pair of sharp and clean pruning shears. This is made by Husky. We picked these up at Home Depot. These are super reliable. We have about 12 pairs of these around the property. They stay pretty sharp. We don't have to sharpen them much, and more than anything, we clean them every single time we use them. That's what's going to really help to protect these shrubs as we cut them back. On that same note, I do have a pair of loppers. This is the Fiskars brand, which is what most of our cutting tools are. We love the Fiskars brand. We think that they're really high quality. Again, we clean them every single time we use them to prevent any additional infection into the branches. One cool thing about these loppers here is they do have the extendable handles. This will come in handy. I'll show you why. It's really hard to get in between those branches sometimes. And last but certainly not least, we've got our Holly Tone fertilizer. This is from the Espoma Organics brand. You've heard us talk about it before. We love this brand. We sell it in our store. We use this on all of our plants. We exclusively use organic fertilizer when we do need to use fertilizer. Holly Tone is specific to plants that like a more acidic soil. Evergreens are certainly one of those plants. A little bit goes a long way. This is a granular fertilizer. It doesn't take much. We'll sprinkle it around the base of the plant, and as it rains, which it is already, that'll leach into the soil slowly but surely. So we've got a little bit of a close-up on our branches here. I hope that you can see this okay. I'll try to do another zoom-in one as well. But right off the bat, I'm going to point out what a dead branch looks like. So this branch right here, all the way down into the base of the plant, is completely unproducing. I don't see any green on it whatsoever. The twigs are all very brittle and they snap, which is a dead giveaway that this is a dead branch. It can completely come off. We do not need that at all. Up here, this guy right here, if you can see that, he's got a little bit of green at the end and another tiny green needle here, and he is technically still alive but definitely on his way out. I'm going to go ahead and cut him. He's a low producing plant and it's not worth sending the nutrients to this branch at all. If you look over here, however, we have a little bit more action on this side. I've got several green areas at the tip. That's all new growth. I have a little bit more growth here. This guy, I'm going to trial out. I am going to leave him for now and see if we can get him to produce a little bit more green for us. As you move north up the bush, you can see the greenery keeps getting more vibrant and thicker. Obviously the deer cannot reach up there, so despite the fact that that is really shaggy up top and I do want to shape that in, I'm going to leave it for right now because as of right now those are the highest producing branches of this shrub. I do not want to remove those. That's what's going to help drive some of this nutrients back down to the base of the plant. And zooming in a little bit closer here. So again, I'm going to show you an example. This guy right here, despite the fact that he is a little sparse and is looking a little sad, there's still quite a bit of green on there. So I'm going to leave him. He's a producing branch. I want to make sure that he can try to produce more. I'm going to keep a close eye on that one. And again, this right here is a good example of a low producing branch. So we do have a tiny bit of new growth, very sparse green areas. This is not worth it. It's not worth driving nutrients to this branch. So we are going to go ahead and snip that one off. Down here, we can see another example of a totally dead branch. There's no green anywhere to be found. The twigs snap very easily, so it just doesn't make sense to keep those on. They look unsightly and they draw nutrients away from the branches that really need it. For some of these smaller branches, your pruning shears are going to do just fine. So these guys here, especially some of the dead ones, they're really quite easy to get off. Now keep in mind, this entire branch is dead, so I am gonna go in with the loppers. I just like to trim them back. It makes it a lot easier to get the debris all piled up at the end. Here's my loppers here. This is a little bit of a larger branch. I am gonna cut it further down, but for right now, I just need to really get them out of the way. This is a lot thicker than I thought. Okay. Pile up your branches. You definitely do not want those to sit at the base of the plant. They can rot and decay, hold on to different types of mold and fungus, and actually cause the plant to become infected. So we certainly want to avoid that. I'm going to continue to go through here and remove some of these lower producing or dead branches. As you can see, we took a lot of dead branches off of these bushes. So I'm really, really hoping that they make it. They do look a little bare right now, but I feel confident that they'll start to grow in once the spring weather comes around. And now it's time to clean up. We do have some weather coming in, so I'm going to fast forward a little bit. This shrub here has actually already been completely pruned up the way I want it. I took off all of those dead and low producing limbs. Anything that's left, I expect to produce for us this spring. I'm really hoping to see some fresh growth on this in the next couple of weeks here. So my last step is I'm going to go ahead and fertilize the plant. Our granular fertilizer, Hollytone here, this is the 4-pound bag. To be perfectly honest, a bag like this would last us at least half a season, if not longer, and we have 7 acres of landscaped land, so most people are looking at 1 bag of Hollytone to probably get them through 2 seasons. The first thing you're going to do is we do want to remove some of these leaves. I love to leave leaves. They're great for the insects, they're really great for the wildlife, and they're excellent for soil care. So leaves act as a natural mulch. As they break down, they give organic material back into the soil. It's like a natural compost, very good to leave on there. But we do want to move some of these out of the way so we can get the fertilizer directly onto the soil. A lot of people do use a measuring cup for this. I've been using it for so long that I typically will just kind of scoop in with my hands. I always wear gloves. This is a completely organic fertilizer, but anytime you're touching materials like this, it's always a good idea to wear gloves. We have the soil exposed down here at the bottom of the plant. Typically, people will say to use a 1/3 cup or 1/4 cup. You can use your typical kitchen measuring cups. Just make sure you don't put them back in the kitchen when you're done using them. And all I'm going to do is sprinkle this evenly across the soil here. We are getting rain right now, and we've got a lot more on the way, so I don't need to do anything with this. If you're fertilizing during a time where you don't expect to get any rain anytime soon, make sure you give it a really healthy watering right after you do it. It'll kickstart the fertilizer getting it into the soil. My last move here is I'm just going to cover that back up with the leaves, allow the leaves to continue to mulch around the base of the plant. And now we just play the waiting game. I'm really hoping that we can salvage these plants. These add a lot to our property. They're massive plants. It would be heartbreaking to have to replace all these. Not to mention, I don't have a clue how we're gonna get those root systems out of there. So we're really gonna focus on rescuing these the best that we can. I'm gonna continue to look for dead or dying branches and remove those as I see them. I'm also going to do another round of fertilizer application in about 4 to 6 weeks, depending on what the plant is doing. I'll check back in about 3 to 4 weeks and let you guys know if we see any new growth here. I really expect that we will start to see it. As we do start to see some of that new growth too, we're going to start to prune the top of the plant so that more sunlight can be filtered down to some of these lower branches, which obviously very much need the tender love and care. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. Thanks so much for checking in.
A quick update to how our evergreen has been doing since we pruned and fertilized him back about 7 weeks ago. I was really pleased to see some new growth immediately as soon as spring started this year. As you can see, the light green sprouts on the stems are all new growth from just these past few weeks. I am going to do an additional fertilization today, and I'm likely going to do another application of fertilizer in about 6 weeks, with one final application right before the fall. Overall, I do think that we can salvage these. I think the recovery period will take a couple years, but in the end, we'll be able to have thick, full evergreen shrubs and retain our privacy wall back here. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. If you like content like this, please take the time to subscribe to our channel. It really helps out small businesses like ours. Thanks so much for tuning in today.